books to read. My name is Martinique Brown, and I'm so excited that you have decided to tune into the show today. You know why? Because we are getting ready for Easter, and I have a special author on the show that specifically writes books for kids, and I'm so excited that she's on the show so she can let you know a lot more about her book, as well as why she decided to write children's book. So Susan, I'm so excited that you are on the show so that you can really just help parents and kids just, gear up and get ready for Easter with your book called Toby and Doby's First Easter. Welcome to the show, Susan. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
So now, if this is your first time ever tuning into the show, I just want to let you know how the show works. So make sure that you constantly are visiting the description box, because the description box has all of our information in it. Make sure you go ahead and share this video now so that more individuals can have a better understanding of who Susan is, as well as why she decided to write her book and what her book is about. Make sure you also visit our YouTube channels and subscribe. Don't just go there, but subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you can actually be notified when we post new videos on our channel. And also make sure you follow us on Instagram as well as our Facebook pages, so again that you'll be notified. If you truly enjoy the shows that I produce, make sure you go ahead and visit my GoFundMe page, which is Martinique the Storyteller, as well as if you're not into the whole GoFundMe page, that's okay. If you have CashApp, you can give that way as well to support my shows. So Susan, if you can just let us know about Toby and Doby, just let us know a little bit about their characters and specifically who they are.
Toby and Doby are little brother mice, and they were created for me when I was a little girl by my aunt as bedtime stories. And every night she would create a new adventure for them. And I thought it would be a nice tribute to her to put them out there for children all over the world. And so that's what I've been working on. The best way to describe them would be that Toby is the older brother. And if anybody out in the viewing audience has ever seen Leave It to Beaver, Toby would be Wally and Doby would be Beaver. He's always getting in trouble. He's a little imp, and Toby's always trying to help him out of issues.
Oh, okay. So now if you can hold the book up again for the viewers. So now, if you didn't know, guys, it's not on the cover, but Toby and Doby are mice.
I'll find a picture for you.
Yeah. So I don't know why I just thought about that, but I'm here in Orlando, and Orlando represents Walt Disney World, and so that's the first thing that I thought about. So that's Toby and Doby that's in the window. So now let us know about the other character, Susie, that's in the book.
That's supposed to be me. Only I'm not that cute. I used to be years ago, many years ago. But yes, that would be me. And my character in the story is to take these two little mice under my wing and teach them, because mice don't have a clue about things. They don't know about holidays like Easter or Christmas or what school is all about or any of that stuff. So each story, she tries to teach them something new.
And so and I don't want to make it sound like you all's kids are mice, but as she's teaching the mice, that's what the kids are actually learning from the book.
Right, exactly. How to teach the mice, because like in one of the stories, not this particular story, but in one of the stories, Susie goes to school for the first time. She enters kindergarten, and Toby and Doby are her little brother and sisters, little brothers, so to speak, that are home and they miss her. So when she comes home from school to make them feel better, she teaches them the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s and how to color and things like that, so that they can feel like they're a part of what's going on.
Definitely. That makes so much sense. So now, specifically with Toby and Doby's first Easter, what will children actually learn from listening to your book? What will the parents actually be teaching the kids?
Well, it's teaching the kids about the Easter customs here in the United States.
Okay.
The meals, the church, which unfortunately we have to be careful with these days because a lot of people do not like you incorporating things like that in the stories. So I just basically try to touch on it without getting too personal about it.
Okay.
About Easter egg hunts and about coloring Easter eggs and about the big family dinners and all the little things that go along with Easter today. And it also teaches them, and I had to go back to school to write this book because I had to do some investigating because I wanted to know where the Easter Bunny came from. And the Easter Bunny came over to America in the 1600s with the Germans who immigrated here. And he was originally called the Ouster House.
Oh, okay.
And and they learn about that in the book too, because I put that in the book. So they're learning something. So it's kind of an educational book as well, in some ways.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's good. That's really good. And I know that you was actually saying that when you were younger, your aunt used to make up characters for you. Now, what is your aunt's name?
My aunt's name was Olive.
So now this is actually Susan's fourth book in her series. What are the other three books about in the series?
Well, the first one is introducing the adventures of Toby and Doby. Okay, and that's where you get to meet them. That's where Susie meets them. She finds them hiding in her basement and they become friends. And because they're so different, they're afraid of each other and their families are afraid for them to be friends and play together. So they have to overcome these obstacles.
That is so relevant for today, you know, because, you know, we all look different. We do different things. And how does that book actually help kids to accept individuals' differences?
Well, for one thing, the mice parents, it was more on the mice side because they're the more endangered, and their parents don't want them playing with Susie because she's a human and humans put out poison and humans put out traps, and they're afraid for their son's lives. And so Susie and her aunt have to prove to them that she has no intention of hurting them, but she wants to help them. And in the end of the story, she and her aunt present them with a wonderful present.
That is too cute. I love it. This is so cute. So now what is the second and third book about?
The second book is the one I had mentioned earlier. It's called Toby and Doby Go to School.
Okay.
And that's where Susie starts kindergarten and she misses them and they miss her. So when she comes home from school, she teaches them about what she's learned, and which teaches our children ways to come home and include that with their little brothers and sisters, you know, to understand that they miss them and they want to know what they're doing and it excites them.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it also helps children who are going to school for the first time have a little idea of what's going to happen, the games they're going to play, that they're going to meet a teacher, that they're going to be in a classroom and things like that, so that they're not as afraid of going to school.
Okay. So that book, she's going to kindergarten, you said.
Yep.
So now fast forward to your Toby's and Doby's first Easter. How old is she in that book, supposedly?
Well, in the first book, she's 4, and then she kind of gets up to about 5. Right now, she's between 4 and 5 in these books. She hasn't gotten much older than that.
I would just love to see her progression, you know.
Well, we have a birthday book. That's what I'm working on now. I'm hoping that'll be the next one I release, but I'm not sure how soon it's going to be, but I'm working on it. And it's going to be Toby and Doby's first birthday, and it's actually going to be her birthday, but they've never had a birthday, so they're going to learn about decorations and all the different kinds of parties you can have, like a bowling party or a movie party or a ice skating party, or depending on where you live, the different kind of parties you can have, and how to wrap presents and decorate and sing happy birthday and things like that.
I understand. And that's why it's so important, guys, to just go ahead and follow our Facebook page and also subscribe to our YouTube channel so that when, for example, when Susan does come out with her book, you'll be notified, with those notifications that her book is now out and that you can actually purchase that book. So you talked about the first book, second book, and what is the third book?
The third book is here somewhere. Here. It's Toby and Doby's First Christmas. And in this book, they learn all about the Christmas holiday. They learn about baby Jesus and Santa Claus and the turkey and the Christmas tree. And Doby even gets lost in the Christmas tree when they're decorating it. And when they find him, he's cuddled up in a corner eating the popcorn.
Oh, from the tree. So cute. So why did you decide to have mice as two of the main characters?
My aunt came up with the idea. I have no idea where she came up with that idea, but these have been a part of my life since 1960 when I was 4 years old. That's as far back as I can remember. So I have known these little buddies for a long time. I've actually told my children and my grandchildren some stories about that over the years, and not really thought much about it. And then one day I was going through my mom's personal things, and after she had passed and everybody was gone, and I was like the last one left, and I happened to go through a box and I found a couple of pages of handwritten Toby and Doby that my aunt had written. She wanted to make stories. So I thought, what a great tribute to her if I could get these out there. So I just kind of expanded on the idea.
That is so cool. So did she ever express to you that she wanted to be an author, or did you just happen to find these writings?
Off and on over the years, as I got a little older, but see, I wasn't very old. I was only like 13 when she passed away.
Okay.
So, and of course, that was the generation where, kids weren't always included in adult conversations. So we didn't know as much as the kids today know about things. So, I mean, I knew she liked to write, and she liked to be a storyteller, but I never really realized that she ever had wanted to put things in writing. So when I found that, it was really, it's kind of like a light bulb. I'm like, oh, let me try to follow up on this for her.
So let me ask you something. Before you found these writings, did you always have an interest in becoming an author yourself?
I've been writing ever since I was like 7 years old. I've done poems and stories, and it was always one of my favorite classes at school. I've written movie scripts and romantic novels. I haven't ever done anything with them, but I've written them. And I even went to Full Sail University down there in Orlando.
Okay.
And I've got my master's in creative writing through there. So
that's excellent.
And I learned a lot from them to make my with the marketing and stuff. That's the hard part. If I had any advice for people who want to be a writer, it's gets some knowledge about marketing, because I've learned a little bit, which is a lot more than I knew before, but it's still hard. And meeting people like you, I think, is really helpful, because we need people like you to help us get our stories out to other people so they know we're here.
Definitely. And that's the reason why I created this platform, is because I know that so many times on Facebook, in particular, so many people are telling us, purchase my book, buy my book, and things like that. But I don't know anything about the author. And that's why I want to create a platform that allows you as the author to help people have a better understanding of who you are, your background, as well as your book.
That's a good idea, and I'm very glad you did.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm glad that you're on the show. So individuals, let's say, for example, you don't have any kids, this will be a great gift for your nieces and nephews, as well as friends or other family members that that have kids themselves. Also, if you are in, the film industry, at all, then you can still reach out to Susan, and her website is actually in the description box because she does have that education. Like she said, she went to Full Sail. So what age do you feel that your books are more so geared towards?
I would say my best guess, it's it used to be easier to do this years ago, but with kids today, they're a lot more advanced than I was. But I would say if your child enjoys getting read to at bedtime, say 2 or 3 years old, and they're learning how to read themselves, say in first or second grade, so you're talking 7, 8, maybe 9, 10 years old. But I think it's all independent and individual for your child. But I would say between 3 and 9 would be a good starting place, but some kids would like it younger, and some kids might like to do it, older. It just depends on what their individual levels are.
Right. I understand. So I know that you actually read a couple of your chapters from your books to kids about once a week. Can you let viewers know a little bit more about, about how that looks as well as where they can tune in at?
Okay, I started it as an idea because I figured a lot of parents don't want to spend good money on something that they don't know a little bit about. So I thought, well, what better way for them to have some idea of what the stories are about than if I read the story and their kids can listen to them online, and they can see if their children are like really getting into it, or if they're like walking away bored, or whatever the case might be. So I've been kind of trial and erroring it. And since I spoke with you last, I've decided that the Sunday after Easter at 2:00 in the afternoons on Facebook, I'm going to start doing it live.
Okay.
And I may be calling you for some help.
Okay. I'm here for you, Susan.
Yeah, on how to get this thing set up. Because as you can tell, I'm not of the technological age where I grew up with this stuff. I have to learn it.
Okay. We all do, don't you worry.
Yeah. So that's what I'm going to try to do. Facebook Live on Sunday afternoons, 2:00 Central Standard Time. Okay. And I'm going to be reading 1 to 2 chapters a week because some of the chapters are very short. Okay. I made it chapter books for bedtime purposes. And I've had a lot of good feedback on that, where parents have come to me and said, my kids just really look forward to going to bed because they want to know what's going to happen next.
So enticing.
Yes, exactly.
Want your kids to go to bed? Buy Susan's book and read a chapter per bedtime.
And I think it's a good thing. I think with the world today is so busy that I think if a parent can afford to take this time with their child, that bonding is so special. Definitely. And it's time you'll never get back.
Definitely. So that's why it's important, guys, to go ahead and visit Susan's Facebook page and like and follow her Facebook page so that you'll receive those notifications, because we all live in busy times. And so we need those reminders of when things are happening that we're interested in. So if you go ahead and like and follow her Facebook page, you'll be notified when she's on her Facebook Live to read those stories to the kids. So I know that, like you said, Toby and Doby, First Easter is your 4th book. What other types of books do you write? Because I know you don't just write children's books. What other type of books do you write?
Well, I dabble in a little bit of everything. What I'm actually trying to pull together right now, fingers crossed, little steps, baby steps with a big dream up here.
Yeah.
What I'm actually trying to work on now is I'm trying to put all these stories into script form for cartoons.
Oh, okay.
Because I thought they would make great Saturday morning cartoons, and maybe the big picture, if I get lucky, they'd get picked up by someone who would be interested in turning it into a film, so that all my little readers out there would be able to drag their parents to the theaters to see Toby and Doby on the big screen.
That would be so cool, wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, it would be. I've made a couple of trailers to advertise my book, and I've actually cried watching them
Aw.
because I'm like, this is so what I want to see. It's
Mhm,
just so realistic of what might actually be up there someday. And
mhm.
if I'm lucky, God willing.
God willing, God willing. You just never know. You just never know who reads it and who watches these shows to learn more about, just having different ideas and inspiration. And so many people are out there that want to tell people stories. You
Yep.
just never know. Like you said, God willing.
Yep.
Um, so what made you interested in even writing children's books? Why children's books?
Um, well, I've heard people say you must write kids' books because they're easy, and they're not any easier than writing another book.
Mhm.
And they are definitely not cheaper because you got to pay for illustrations unless you know how to draw. And I can't
True.
draw stick people. So
Uh-huh.
I need to pay somebody to make all these beautiful pictures. And
Mhm.
and I've had people say you really should put more pictures in there. And so what I've started trying to do with one of my books, and I'm hoping to get some feedback from it from the people who buy it, is I left the pictures black and white and made it a coloring book.
Oh, that's so cute.
So the kids could color it themselves after they read it.
Mhm.
And by doing it in black and white, the illustrations are a little cheaper. So I'm hoping to be able to add more pictures to the stories
Mhm.
because kids want stories. They want pictures, they don't just want words. They want those pictures. That's what grabs them. So that's what I'd like to do, but it is an expensive proposition. So that's the downside of writing for children. The upside for writing for children, for me anyway, is that the books are shorter, so you can get more out there faster.
Mhm.
And and I love to see the look on kids' faces when they like it. And I love it when a parent calls me up and says, "Oh my God, my kid just loves your story,"
Yeah.
and that's like the best encouragement and feedback you can get.
Mhm.
And so I mean, that's what I look forward to is that.
That's good. So, with parents' busy schedule, why would you say, as a children's author, what's the benefit of taking that time to read to your kids?
Kids need you. Your kids need you. They need to bond with you. They need to know that you're there for them, and they want that quality time. I have seen so many kids, we've all seen it. Kids, tugging on mom, 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 dad, dad. They
Mhm.
want you to pay attention to them. And if you could just take it, it only takes, well, from what I've been putting on the internet already with my stories, in my trial and error run, it's between 5 and 8 minutes. If you
Mhm.
could give your child or your kids, if you have more than one,
Mhm.
5 to 8 minutes a night to tuck them into bed, and read them a story, it would just make their day so special. They'd probably go to
Yeah.
bed a lot easier. They wouldn't be as aggressive or as annoying. I mean,
Mhm.
I've had kids, mom, I want to drink. I got to go pee.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to bed. I want to get up. And then they're up and down and up and down.
Uh-huh.
And maybe this would help end that nighttime drama and
Mhm.
help you get them to bed calmer, and you'd be calmer, and then you'd
Yeah.
be able to relax, because
Uh-huh.
bedtime, in my memory, bedtime is not fun. And hopefully this will make bedtime fun.
Right. So now, guys, I know that you're learning a lot more about Susan and her books, children's series, Toby and Doby. If you're interested in purchasing Susan's books, I've taken all of the stress and hassle out of it for you. Visit the description box and you can actually purchase Susan's books through Amazon, or you can purchase them directly from her PayPal. Now, if you purchase them from PayPal, you actually get to save $2. Who doesn't like to save money? But if you go ahead and purchase it through her PayPal account, you'll only be paying $12.95 for the book, and you'll also receive an autographed copy of that book as well. So really don't, miss this opportunity to purchase something that's not only fun for your kids, but something that's also educational for your kids as well. So what actually inspires you, Susan, when it comes to thinking about your next children's book to write about?
Oh my goodness. When it comes to children, you don't have to think very hard. Anything. I've got a list like yay long of stories that that I'm planning on hoping to put in the works. You can write about Halloween, Thanksgiving, going to the beach, first time at the doctor's office.
I bet you that's a good one.
Going to the dentist for the first time, visiting a farm and learning about chickens and pigs and cows and horses. And there's just, when it comes to kids, there's just so many ideas out there of, it's just, my brain is just so full. It's just a matter of reining myself in and picking one and staying with it and moving on. My original goal when I first started this was to try to get one out like every 4 months.
Okay.
But, life gets in the way sometimes and it kind of came to a screeching halt. But it would be really nice if I could get back into doing that. So hopefully by building an interest through doing interviews like this, then maybe that dream will become a reality for me and I'll be able to I know I could write them. It's just a matter of, I got to get them sold.
Right, definitely. So now what would you say to those individuals who has a story in their mind and they do want to begin to write, but they just haven't taken the plunge to do it yet?
Go for it. Even if you aren't able to sell it, because being a new publisher, there's all different kinds of ways. It's very hard to get into a traditional publisher these days. A lot of them won't take you unless you've got some kind of backing or, know somebody. So a lot of the people today are being indie writers where they write it themselves and they self-publish it like I did on Amazon. And there's other places too, but you have to be very careful because some of these people, if they ask for too much money,
don't do it
because they're not really supposed to be asking for money. This is something that, you're supposed to be doing. And if you self-publish it through a vanity press, that's what they call them, vanity presses, you end up, putting a lot of money out before you go, wait a second, what am I doing? This is crazy. And that's what happened. One of the things that happened to me and set me back for a while was because I was involved with a vanity press. Since that time, they've gone out of business, thank goodness. But they sent me a letter and said, we want to take your book, not this one, my first one. We want to take this book overseas to England for a book show. Okay. I'm like, oh, wow, that's cool. And then they went on to say, we only need $1,500. And I'm like, you could fit 100 of these in a suitcase.
Right.
You need $1,500 just to fly it over there? No, I don't think so. Now, if you were going to have me go with you, it might be worth $1,500, but I wasn't going to pay $1,500 just to take my book over there. And just because they said they were taking my book over there didn't mean they were actually going to take my book over there, So I'm like, no, I think we're done here. So I stopped it at that point. And then I have a very good friend, as a matter of fact. Can I mention another name while I'm doing this?
Yeah, go ahead. Go for it. Because the reason why I ask these questions to authors, because I know sometimes authors get burnt. And so I like to hear from authors, the companies that have worked for them, because I want other people that want to write books to know who's the best company to go to and things like that. But whose name were you about to say?
Okay. He's a good friend of mine. I've known him since about 1999. No, I'm sorry. 1990. Yeah, 1999. His name is Michael J. Plouffe, Ploof, and he writes some of the most awesome fantasy stories that would be for teenagers to young adults. And he's got them all over Amazon.com. He's got books galore. He's got all different kinds. He's got a series for younger kids. He's just blazing them out like crazy. I envy him because I cannot write. He develops all these unique languages for all these little fairy creatures and stuff. And I'm like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
But if you guys, if you're interested in something like that, fantasy series type books, and you've got older children, or you're a young adult yourself watching this, and that's the kind of stories you like, look up Michael J. Plouffe. He's got some awesome. As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, last year or the year before, he got one of those bestseller awards for his stories. So he's really doing well. Matter of fact, his wife and him are now traveling across the United States. They sold their house, bought a camper with his with his earnings from his sales from his books. They sold their house, bought a camper, and they hit the road. And now he's writing his stories across the country.
Wow, that is something, isn't it?
So he's very successful, and I hope to follow in his footsteps.
Definitely, that's good. But let me ask you this, because I've always wondered about indie authors. And okay, so you write your story.
Yep.
How did you find your artist, and how did you find the person that does the binding for your books and the publishing, like things like that?
Well, when I first wrote my book, I was living in Canada at the time. I was with my second husband, and I was living in Canada, and I just typed in illustrators, and this my illustrator's name is Mike Motz, M-O-T-Z, and he's from Canada, and he owns the company, and he's got a slew of amazing illustrators that work for him. And what he did was he submitted to me a page, and I went to that page and I checked out samples of all the different artwork of all his different illustrators, and I found one that reminded me and made me think of my characters.
Okay.
And so I picked her, and her name is Lisa. And then what I did was for each picture that I wanted, I sent her a little write-up. I said, in this picture, I want Toby and for the Easter book, I want Toby and Doby sitting on the kitchen counter and Susie leaning over, with the chair, and her aunt's there, and they're coloring Easter eggs, and because they're so tiny, they're using like Q-tips and stuff as brushes because they can't, hold a big regular paintbrush because they're too tiny. So you have to kind of adjust things. And then she'll do it, and then she'll send it back to me, and I'll look it over, and well, maybe she didn't see something I had written, or maybe I look at it and I'm like, oh, this would be better. And so I change it and I send it back to her. And then she just keeps doing it until I'm happy with the picture. And then when I'm happy with them, they upload them to me. I make my payment through PayPal, and I get my pictures.
Okay, so we have our illustration done. We have all our pictures done.
Yep.
Now, what about, because they call it binding, correct?
Well,
like to put the book together. Is that called binding?
Now, if you do if you do through Amazon.com, there's a page, and you pick what size you want your book to be, 8x10 or 9x11 or whatever size you want. You pick whether you want it to be glossy or matte finish. You pick whether it's white pages with black print or colored pages. And you go through and you make a checklist, and you pick all these things that you want. Okay. Then you upload your manuscript with you copy and paste all your illustrations, and you put them in wherever you want them.
Hold on for 1 minute. Yep. So you say you copy and paste. Okay, so your illustrator's name was what?
Lisa.
So Lisa sent you digitally
yes,
your pictures, all the pages.
Yep.
And then you digitally uploaded those to Amazon.
I uploaded the illustrations to my computer. Okay. And then I copied and pasted them into my document where I wanted them to be. And then when my document was complete, I uploaded my manuscript to Amazon.com, and then they let me have a preview of it. So I previewed it, and I scrolled through all the pages to make sure there wasn't any typos or whatever, or sometimes they don't line up right. Sometimes when you take a Word document and you upload it to a program like that, if your typeset is off just a little bit, you might end up with, a gap. You might have so many sentences and then a gap, and then some more sentences. So you just have to go through and check it all over to make sure it's perfectly, you know, the way you want it lined up and set up. And then you order an author copy that you get for free, and it comes in the mail. And then you go through that and you make sure everything's the way you want it to be. And if you're happy with it, you hit publish. And in a couple of days, it's live on Amazon.com and you can start selling it. Yep. Now,
okay, so one question for you. So with the writing part, because I know that you uploaded it so that all of the pages are in the exact order.
Right.
Do you have to tell Amazon like where to write it and what font and all that stuff too?
Nope. They just take it right out of whatever font is on your document. Like, I'll put it on, I learned that a lot of, when I was going to school, they said you should pick a font that's kids are attracted to. And they gave us a list of different kinds of fonts that kids have an easier time reading. And I picked Century Schoolhouse. Oh, okay. And it makes the letters, you know, look like that, you know, make it more attractive to kids. And then I picked my my font size, and which, by the way, from trial and error, always write down your font sizes, because you know your title is your chapter title is going to be bigger than the actual story. And if you forget, and then you write another book, you're going to find that your books are inconsistent.
Okay, so it's wise to keep it uniform.
Right. Okay. So that's what happened to me here. When I put the second book on, I had forgotten how big the first book was. And once you upload it, there's no going back. So you got to make sure you're happy with it, you know. So now I've got one book that doesn't fit in with the others. So you got to make sure that always write down the sizes you use as far as your measurements for the book itself. Always make sure you write down your font sizes for your title, for your title page, for your illustrated by, for your written by, you know, whatever those particular fonts are that you use, whatever sizes they are, make sure you write it down and keep it somewhere where you'll have it for the next book. Especially if it's a series like this.
Definitely. And one thing that I was just wondering, so is there a way that you can eliminate like having all these books at your house, or is it you tell Amazon, okay, this looks great, you know, post it, and then as orders are placed, people are purchasing the books from Amazon, correct?
It's called a print on demand, POD, and when you order it, they print it, and then they'll mail it directly to your house. You
said they'll mail it directly to your house?
To whoever buys it.
Got you. Okay.
Like if you bought one for that lucky niece or nephew of yours, hint. If you bought one, you'd go to Amazon, you'd put in your credit card information or your debit information or your bank information, or your PayPal. They take PayPal. You put in whatever you want, and you order the book. You put in your address, and within like a week or so, you get your book.
I love this. You are just a wealth of knowledge, because I feel like many times people need to know the do's and don'ts, you know, of this process. And so many times we just see these people that have these books, but, you know, for somebody that's never written a book, you just wonder, okay, but what about the details? Like, how do I not make all these mistakes? You know, because mistakes cost money. So.
Yeah. Well, you know, everybody makes mistakes. And that's why, you know, like you said, it's good to have these shows, because somebody might not have known that. I didn't know that. I had to learn by mistakes and trial and error, you know, to make everything uniform so that they all look the same, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, think back on, I don't know if anybody out there is old enough to remember Nancy Drew, you know, the Nancy Drew, they all looked the same. They were all the same size. They, you know, the print was all the same. Everything was the same, you know, and that's the way a series has to be. You have to try to keep them all, you know, so going forward, they're all going to be this size.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, with so many children's books out there, why are your books the best ones that parents should actually purchase? Or even, you know, aunts and uncles and family members, why should they purchase your books for kids?
Well, 2 words: innocence and imagination.
Mm-hmm.
2 things that so many of our children today do not have because life's too busy.
Mm-hmm.
They have to grow up too fast. Like I had stated earlier, I would say between 3 and 9, but some 6 or 7-year-old kids might find them boring because they're advanced beyond their years, because they've had to come home from school alone every day and make their own meals or whatever. You know, some kids grow up fast these days, but so you really don't know. But the 2 things these kids today need is they need to know it's okay to be innocent. It's okay to have an imagination. You don't have to be on top of everything all the time. You don't have to be an adult when you're 6 or 7 years old. It's okay to play and have fun and make believe. And that's what I think my stories show kids more than some of the other stories that are out there. I mean, you've got the little books, you know, like Dr. Seuss and stuff like that. And then there's even the little golden books, if there's, you know, they still make them. And they're like quick and short and 10 pages, and, you know, and the rabbit saw the duck and they fell down the hole and whatever. You know, these are a little bit more advanced. And I made it that way, not because I didn't want the children, well, maybe I didn't want the children to be given, hey, here's your book, go read it. I wanted the parents to have to spend some time with their kids. And because I think bonding with your children is so important.
That's good. Susan, this is so good. Everybody, this is actually Susan Pennington, and she's a children's author, as well as she writes short stories. And tell us what else, films and scripts.
I write scripts, and I write romance novels, and I write poetry. So whatever your need is, I would love to write a song, but I don't know anything about writing music, and I don't know which comes first, the music or the words, you know?
Chicken or the egg.
Right. So if there's anybody out there who's looking for some words for some music, maybe we can team up.
Definitely. And all of Susan's contact information is listed in the description box. Make sure you go ahead and visit her website, as well as subscribe to her YouTube channel, and follow her on Instagram, as well as follow and like her Facebook page as well. Make sure that you also, if you really, you know, you said, you know, I really like these books and I really like what they're about, make sure you go ahead and purchase your book from that PayPal link that's in the description box, or you can purchase it on Amazon as well. Thank you so much, Susan, for being on the show.
Oh, you're very, can I add one more thing before we say
goodbye? Yes.
If you, every page, whether it be YouTube or whether it be Amazon.com, or even if it's Facebook, if you get my books, if you read my books, please, I would love so much for you to comment on them. Leave comments. Comments are so important because it's what other people go by to determine if they want to spend that money. This book was great. My kid loved it, made me cry, whatever. Just make sure you take that few seconds to go back and visit that page and write a comment about your experiences of my story, so that other people will see what it's about and that you liked it or you didn't like it. Hey, negative comments are good too. It'll help me with the future books.
That's good. That's good. And I just want to thank you all for taking time to watch another episode of Authors to Know and Their Books to Read. Make sure you go ahead and share this video now for individuals you think that could really benefit from learning more about Susan and her books. Make sure that you also follow me on Instagram and subscribe to my YouTube channel. All of me and Susan's contact information is listed in the description box. I hope you guys have a great night, and we'll talk to you all later. Bye-bye.
See you later. Thanks for watching.